Susan, would you lead us? We'll wait until the clerk is ready.
Okay, we're good.
Clerk is now ready, we can convene. Susan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everybody. First up on the agenda is the consent agenda, but before we approve that, it came to our attention that to Cedar Mountain Properties, there was a voucher for the amount of $938.71. It should have been $966.87. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with that change to the voucher.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Next up is interviews from a Meeteetse Local Planning Committee. And I see that Sean Christopherson is on. So way we do this, Sean, is we'll have you tell us a little bit about yourself. And you need to unmute your mic, I see. There you are.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Sean. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're wanting to do this, and
You want the door open?
it's fine. And we'll go ahead and close it. But and might be a few questions for you. So
Okay, so
here's yours for a second.
okay, so I'm Sean Christopherson. I've lived in Meeteetse for a little over 8 years now. Lived in Bighorn County for 20 some years before that. I just want to give back to the community, so that's basically why I want to reapply.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Sean? Lloyd?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a quick comment, Sean. There's going to be quite a bit of discussion over the next year, possibly longer, for land use plans. So I don't think this is going to be just a sit back committee, at least for the near future. I hope you're up for it.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that this year, I mean, there was probably maybe 4 and there wasn't really a whole lot that went on.
Well, that may change, and I just want to thank you for reapplying.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Sean?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. Just want to say thanks for applying. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, we'll be getting back to you on this, Sean. Thanks for chiming in.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys.
You have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. You want to ask Joe to come in?
Is anybody else having trouble getting on
These are all
SharePoint?
incumbents, aren't they, Sue?
Get what?
Yeah.
On SharePoint?
I haven't yet.
I can't.
Yes, he was a new one.
Take the seat there, Mr. Wagers.
How's everybody doing today?
We're doing good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you got going on, why you're wanting to be back on it, and we might have a few questions for you.
Okay, well, some of you may or may not know, but I retired from the Sheriff's Department in 2017. Came up here in 05 to be a resident deputy at Meeteetse. And so I've always enjoyed the community that when we were elk hunting up in this area. And I just feel that, I'd like to have some good decisions made for what happened in that area. And not saying that anybody made bad decisions there, but it's an important part of my life. I just like to kind of keep things going down there.
Great.
And now I'm working a couple of outside jobs, working at Cody Feed Store and at the sale barn in Orland, and riding some outside horses and hanging busy. So just recently bought a house in Meeteetse, so we're back down there now. So that's about it in a nutshell.
Anyone have, Lloyd, you got anything for?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, Joe, thank you. It's going to be possibly pretty busy. I guess real quick, do you have any expectations or visions of what you would like to see the Meeteetse area as far as planning and what you can offer?
I'd like to see more people come back. We're losing so many of our young people down there, which is kind of standard for everywhere. But I'd like to see things happen in the community, things to get people interested in wanting to stay, you know, like, for instance, putting up that cell phone tower out there at the Upper Sunshine, you know, and things like that, and get things for more community-minded people there. Because we have a lot of old people in Petite, and nobody's replaced them as they die off. So I kind of like to do whatever I could to draw interest there.
Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Joe?
Nelson?
Well, I just to pick up what Commissioner Teal talked about before, but we are looking at updating the land use plan for the county. So this could get a little bit busier over the next year or two with committee work and area work. And
Okay.
so the expectations might be a little bit more, probably not in the first few months, but after that, if we get rolling on it. So you don't have any issues with a few more meetings than what's happened in the past. And
I would actually welcome a few more meetings than what's happened in the past. People involved. For, you know, for the whole planning and zoning department down there to be more involved with what's going on in the county.
okay, thank you.
All right. Appreciate you coming over, Joe. We'll let you know what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Did you try SharePoint?
Yeah, I got right in.
You did.
Tiffany was out there, wasn't she?
No, Debbie's out here.
Oh. Have you heard from, Susan, have you heard from Tiffany May?
Yes, she's going to be here, and she said she'd be here 10 minutes early.
Okay, well,
Let me run upstairs.
suppose
to
if
make
you're
sure
on a-
she didn't-
Oh,
Planning committee, you might
I
need
told
an
her to come
email
to the
too,
basement,
so
so-
that's one of the things that Joe didn't have was an email, so that might be
oh,
something.
I don't know what she did, but I'm in now.
it was a loose nut on the keyboard. Well, I'm guessing he'll get one.
Unless he just wants phone calls all the time, so.
We can do that. We,
Do they then get together and then determine who the chair of this group is?
they'd have to do that again, you know, they're kind of rebuilding.
Yeah.
Because it went away and no one was interested, and we actually
We
talked about
came that close to dissolving.
dissolving it.
Oh, really?
And then we had a lot of,
We couldn't get anybody to want to be on that.
and now we appointed Mary Rumsey.
I mean, one of the problems with Matisse, it is quite interesting. I guess it just has to do with the fact that most of the rural land around Matisse is old family ranches, but there's very little subdivisions or any activity like that going on.
Well, I think they were talking about moving that, changing that golf course into a subdivision.
No,
Well,
it's
yeah, they've
a-
been talking about that for a number of years.
it's an RV park,
Haven't done
guys, and the bid's been let to build it.
Oh, yeah.
So they're doing an RV park at the southeast area of that golf course.
it. Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Maybe not a bad idea. Get a lot of interest in RVs. It just
Absolutely.
skyrocketed last year with
That one lady from ArchiSearch, Tammy, came and I think it was July when she came and visited us. And Minnesota is where her husband works for RV. They were like 6 to 8 months out of even being able to build any. So
That's
I was
why I'm
like,
thinking out at
whoa.
the fairgrounds in Powell, that you could charge a heck of a lot more because there's no RV area.
I know. Come on in.
Come in, come in.
You can sit right up here.
Anywhere? Okay. How are you?
Good, very good.
Good.
Good morning, Tiffany. What we'll do here, thanks for coming over, but what we'll do here is if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, about why you're interested in being on the committee, and then might have a few questions for you.
Okay. I'm a lifetime Park County member. I was born and raised in Matisse, or born in Cody, raised in Matisse, I should say. My family's there, my own family, as well as my children are coming back.
That's good.
My family ranches on both sides, so we're pretty deep seated in the community that way. I'd be interested in having some input on just some of the opportunities that may arise as far as building and different types of business and whatnot that would be interested in being in our community. My children are older. I've got, my youngest are actually graduating from high school this year. And then I've got a stepdaughter who's 24, as well as a middle daughter who's soon to be 21. But with the family ranch, they are anticipating coming back and being involved as well. So that's the interest that I have as well. And they would be, unless they marry and move elsewhere, I don't see them probably wanting to move away just because of the opportunity that's there to stay. So,
Tiffany, thanks for applying. I mean, it's great to see people step up in the community and do this. And just a heads up, the land use plan for Park County is going to be rewritten. It's 20 years old. So this committee will probably be pretty active for a short time. Well, I should say short, could be a year or more of pretty active stuff. So I really appreciate you. I know I'm just letting you know, there's no time, you can still draw out if you want.
Actually, that was part of the reason that I was interested in being involved. It was brought to my attention that it was an outdated plan, and there seems to be things moving around quite a bit in the area. So,
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for applying. Appreciate it and giving us your time today. And just curious, do you have any ideas about development in Meeteetse? Any preconceived ideas going into the committee about future development in Meeteetse? I mean, you know, development in Meeteetse is lagged behind the rest of the county, and for any number of reasons. But given the political climate that we live in, my personal feeling is that more people are going to start moving into Park County and into Wyoming. And so to me, it's just a matter of time before Meeteetse starts to develop. Have any preconceived ideas about those types of things?
am I biased one way or the other? Is that what you,
No,
as far as,
if you're biased,
no, I just, well, I didn't know my family has been in the area for an awfully long time. So, you know, I would like to protect that in a sense and not have it, not to seem biased by that, but I guess I would like to see the right things in the area for the right reasons. There have been some businesses that have tried to come into Meeteetse and whatnot. Some of our local committee is varying degrees of open-mindedness towards new building. On the other hand of that, Meeteetse is a very small community that is dwindling at that point, and I do think that it would be important to have some things come in to rejuvenate it a little bit and keep it alive. And you know, I guess even though my children are older and graduating from school, you know, the school is a huge employer, as well as something that's very important to the community to be there, because it does, or the success of the town is basically on the school's shoulders at this point because of the oil industry and everything else that's been influenced. So I would like to see Meeteetse stay viable by all means,
Sure.
but not overrun, I guess.
Well, I actually lived in Meeteetse a couple of years back in the early 70s. I'm not really that old, but.
When you were 3?
But, you know, Meeteetse was actually a more lively town then, back in the 70s than it is now.
Right. Yeah, there have been some, the golf course, which I know, I'm sure you guys are all aware of and whatnot, it was presented with some ideas on building and land purchasing and whatnot, and then it kind of got shut down and back and forth, as I'm sure you know. So I am kind of the understanding that it's a possibility that may start moving again a little bit, but so far I haven't seen anything
Thank you.
physical.
Good answer. Thank you.
So,
Tiffany, thanks, and go Longhorns.
yeah.
You were talking about businesses. Any idea of what kind of businesses Meeteetse people have been talking about or would like to get? I know maybe a big grocery store would be nice, but
Well, they've tried that and it's not, unfortunately, I think for the most part, once people have set their minds on driving to Cody for groceries and all their medical and whatever business they do, they're kind of set in that. So, and the wheat market has kind of adjusted itself. It was taken over by new owners.
I see they have a luncheon area there. now,
They
too.
do.
Yeah.
It's been a little over a year and
Yeah.
they've really expanded that quite a bit. But business wise, you know, Matitsi, as Joe had spoken about, you know, we used to have 3 or 4 restaurants and different construction businesses and I mean, all sorts of things that were happening. So I guess what I have seen in Matitsi is, for the most part, the people that are moving in because ranches aren't hiring nearly as much. Like I said, the school is the biggest employer at this particular point in time. Construction businesses are kind of smaller at this point due to the oil industry as well. You know, a lot of those are more dirt work type construction businesses that are based there. I think probably business-wise, I would have to say people that are moving to Matitsi are more or less, shouldn't say necessarily retired, but they've earned their money elsewhere at a different time in their life and are moving to somewhat retire and still be involved in the community in a sense, but it's not young people. There just isn't the business at the moment to have a young family there and honestly be able to support a young family unless you're involved in the school.
Well, I agree with Joe. He's, you know, the climate that the nation's in, I think we're sitting on gold here. So Batitsi's one of those places where
Right.
I think once people look at maybe not as hectic of a lifestyle, not only retirement, but hopefully maybe young families moving into Batitsi.
Right. There's not a lot of open land necessarily
Right.
available at this point in time in Matitsi. I mean, the golf course is by far the largest chunk near the actual town as far as that goes. Most of it's ranching community and outside ranching community. There have been a few of those purchased that have been broken up, but I will honestly say I am fairly protective of that happening. I think where you had mentioned that some of the zoning needs to be adjusted, I think it needs to be looked at as far as how that can be split and where and whatnot, not only just for the population, but also to protect, and it will sound very prejudiced, but to protect the taxes as well on landowners. So.
Dossie, do you have anything?
No, Tiffany and I've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
Okay.
We had a good conversation on the phone when we were talking about the application, so no,
Well, we appreciate you applying, taking the time to come over. We'll let you know how things shake out here pretty quick.
All right, I appreciate
Thank
all
you,
of
Tiffany.
you as
Thank you very
well.
much for coming
So,
out.
all right.
Well, we have 3 spots and 3 applicants. Look like they want to do the job. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we appoint all 3 of them.
second,
Moved and seconded to appoint Sean Christopherson, Joe Wagers, and Tiffany May to the Matitsi Local Planning Council. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. So is Debbie out there
yeah, and Bobby.
and Bobby?
Hey, guys.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you
How are
ladies
ya?
today?
Good.
It's too cold to be gardening.
Well, but it's coming. We gotta have a plan.
Morning,
Yeah.
CJ.
Aren't you, Jack?
Is it okay that I walk around and give you guys this picture?
Sure.
Well, I don't want to break a rule,
No, you're fine.
even though I'm kind of a rule breaker.
Really.
Well,
Thank you.
I have a tendency to run upstream if I'm against the current if I can.
I don't even know what to say to that. Let's not.
So does Dossie, and so does Colleen. They know it's like, okay, well.
All right, well, we have Debbie Kelly and Bobby Holder here to talk about a garden project at Park County Complex. Take it away.
Well, so I guess we could start with me because it was my idea to, when we were when we were approached about possibly moving up to the complex, one of my thoughts was it would be really cool to have like a garden area there. Because part of my job, I work for University of Wyoming, the Sensible Nutrition Program. In the summertime, I do gardening projects. So I had 2 spaces over at the Cody Community Garden, and then I have the Research Center. They let me use the high tunnel and a section of land down there for gardening. Last year, I donated over 1,900 pounds of produce to the Cody and Top Food Banks. So, and in the past, I've had drug court come and help me at the Cody Gardens, but that kind of took a bad corner. But anyhow, I was thinking with drug court up there now, the opportunity for them to come out and help with the garden, if it was right there on the property, would be a real positive thing. Because when they were coming and helping me, the comments I got was, it's better than sitting around in a circle singing Kumbaya. Kumbaya. So, you know, I mean, they loved being out there. It was for an hour once a week, but they thoroughly enjoyed it, you know. And not only did they work my plots, but they also took care of the, you know, putting new, what am I trying to say? Ground cover down and, you know, wood chips around the outside of the fencing at the Cody Garden and everything. So it was kind of my idea. Then I got Bobby on board because, you know, I throw seeds in the ground and say, grow. And I use a couple of the bad words, but anyhow, grow and give it water. And apparently I don't do too bad of a job for 1,900 pounds of produce. So Bobby doesn't think that that's how it's supposed to work. So we have kind of combined our thoughts, and we're hoping that you will give us permission to do this. It's all depending on grant money because that's the only way we can pull this off. We, you know, the only thing we want from you all is the space and to use the water.
And you visited with Buildings and Grounds? And
we have visited
they
with
got it
Mike and
dialed in.
Brian.
Okay, Bobby?
I have a picture of the space at the Park County Complex. That space was chosen for several reasons. One, though, is it eliminates a hard place to maintain. They have a hard time getting the mower in there and taking care of it. And so that would eliminate that. The big thing is it would have to be fenced, and it would have to be fenced with a 7-foot fence so the deer don't get in there. I have a picture of my fence, the outside and the inside of my fence, which is kind of the design that we were looking at. And then there's the space, Dulcie, if you want to pass.
And the picture that I
Yes,
gave y'all
that's right.
was something like that for our containers.
So you're looking at a raised bed.
Raised bed.
Raised beds,
Yep.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
raised beds. One of the grants, and Bobby can tell you more about the grant that she's looking at, we would have we could, you just go with it.
Okay. I am looking at a grant that is for urban orchards on public land. Orchards, pollinator gardens, vegetable gardens, herb gardens, all of those are supported. There's 13 opportunities for counties to get that money. Whether we can be competitive and timely, I don't know, but I think we've got a really good shot at it. There is those are just, I'm looking at a $5,000 grant. She's looking at a $2,000 grant, and that's just what we found really quickly. There's a lot of money out there for food security and more community garden type endeavors. So even if we were to miss one of these, you know, there's still possibility to keep going as long as we know we have the space and can move forward.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the grants you're looking at, are they through FSA?
The one I
Have you
am,
visited,
yes.
but you've been in contact with them?
Yeah, I've gotten grants.
Because
from
they do
them.
have quite a bit of money
Yeah.
for projects
Yeah,
like
I've gotten
this.
grants from them for 2 separate years.
Well,
So, yeah.
I think,
Just a quick question, this picture here, can you kind of orient me here? This is on the east side?
Southeast.
West.
South. It's right in
Southwest,
front.
excuse me.
Okay.
Southwest
It's
corner.
right
All
to
right,
the
okay.
left.
So the main entrance would be over,
Yes.
over here. Okay,
Correct.
all right.
With that, this is really pretty. I mean, I like the raised bed system and they're very easy to work, but so would you maintain everything within inside that fence? Because your raised bed system, I mean, I assume you're still gonna have lawn around similar to this?
No
No,
grass in there.
no grass, all you'll take the sod out and put gravel down or whatever. But anyway, but regardless, inside the fence area, our building and grounds guys won't have any upkeep whatsoever needed in there.
Only help with water,
Yeah.
because
and-
we have.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they need to turn water on and stuff like that, but no
well,
trimming,
yeah,
Yeah.
no
No
trimming,
trimming.
nothing like
No,
that.
no.
Weed control, things like that.
No,
Okay.
weekly maintenance or anything like that.
And hopefully, like the fencing that Bobby has, we're going to, how we would set it up was they could run the mower right along that edge and not have to run the weed eater, right along through there.
We
So-
put a mowing strip
Yeah.
underneath the fence on that outside, but so that it helped with the maintenance. There's probably a lot of things that can be looked at in the complex about maintenance and how it's maintained and what it does, but that's a whole different conversation.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, what's might have missed it, what's the total cost of the whole thing?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
We're just gonna throw money at it, see what happens.
That sounds like a government agency to me.
Austin,
We're pretty tough, so we're hoping to be able to, do most of it ourselves. I mean, like the raised beds, we have a couple of different options. We could either make them ourselves, we could buy them. I got online yesterday and looked at a couple nice, great big ones that, but depending on what our money situation is, and that's where all of this hinges, is because if we don't get that grant money, it's not gonna.
so Darcy, go ahead.
The only thing I was gonna say is that we've had the can kids involved in some of the gardening things around town and food production to help them learn some of those
Right.
things. There may also be some grant situations there, if the kids can be used in some format, so you
Sure.
might contact Deb White and
Okay.
see what might be available through them to
Okay.
help with that, both
Perfect.
funding and labor.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'd like to see, I mean, I'm leaning towards, saying go ahead and doing it, but what I'd like to see is I've got a really nice picture here of what might occur. I don't want us to, I would like to be kept in the loop of what you decide to put in there as far as raised bed and what then fencing and what it's gonna look like. Cause
Oh,
I don't wanna
most
see us
definitely.
go in there and throw down a couple railroad ties and
No.
you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
So-
and like Bobby said, when we were out there talking about it, we want it to be eye pleasing.
Yes.
We don't want it to look like, somebody just threw up a couple pieces of fence and threw in some railroad ties and built a raised bed. I mean, we're on county property. We want to make sure that it looks nice.
Yeah.
And we're not only representing you guys, but we're also representing DW. So
Commissioner Tilden will know where I'm coming from this, but I think we ought to name it the Tim French Community Garden.
Thank you, Lee.
can we not?
How
name
many
it?
times have I done this?
But
That's why I think if it goes through, we're gonna dedicate it to Senator French.
Maybe I take my time back. I don't know if I want to write a grant.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Tilden.
the only comment, I very much support the project. The only comment that I would have is along the line to what you were saying, is we need to make sure, because it is up the complex, and the grounds up there are great, the building's great. Need to make sure it's aesthetically pleasing when we get it done.
Yeah.
That's all.
And that's
Fencing
our-
and beds and everything.
that's our goal.
Mr. Chairman, is there an opportunity maybe if you get donors, are you gonna put plaques up or anything for any possible donors on property, or is
We
this all
had,
in-house?
we had not thought of that, but I don't see any problem with it. We do hope to use it as a learning tool from beginning
Mhm.
through all the steps. We'll offer classes in how to set it up, understanding what's happening, why we have the fence, why we're doing the different things that we do. And so we'll run that as a classroom throughout time.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, I'll
Yes,
make
sir.
a motion that we approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to allow them to move forward with the community guardian at the Park County Complex. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Just come to us when you start getting a better, firmer idea of what it's
We
gonna
will.
look like.
We needed to get, our first thing was getting a hold of
Yep.
you guys. Our second thing is securing the grant money.
Now, I want a tomato.
Yep.
No problem.
The Jim French tomato.
You know what, Jim,
Thanks, Bobby.
even if we don't get a tomato off of that garden for you, I will bring you one from my
Just
hydro.
bring that tomato.
Do you want it thrown at you?
Oh, come on now.
Just check.
All right, we got a break happening until 10:15.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you, appreciate it.
Now I'm gonna change that clock because it's not right.
Oh, well, what's wrong with it?
It's slow.
Yeah, I know.
Well, according to my watch, it's right on.
It was upstairs.
Well, yeah, I go off my computer screen.
2 minutes slow, yeah, according to the computer.
10:01, okay.
The problem we had with the Powell Community Garden was people would spend all that time gardening and then in the middle of the night, people would go in and take all the
Yeah,
produce out of it. So we had to get locks.
well, I was gonna
And we
ask,
just electrified the fence.
is
Yeah,
there,
that would have been smart.
is there an entrance from where they want it, from the inside the building to the garden spot?
No,
They gotta go around
no,
it.
they'd have to, there'll be a gate.
Do they do any of the maintenance on the interior
Planning and Zoning, Planner 2, Kim Bilvin, public hearing on the Fry gravel and excavation special use permit.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have anyone out there that's from any of the applicants out
Yes,
there?
yes, they are. Yeah, I think both applicants are out there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, come on, guys. Hi, Spencer. How you doing?
Spencer,
So the applicants,
you can have a seat anywhere if you like.
so the applicants who are here today, Spencer and Cindy Fry, and this location is in the planning area Cody Powell Rural, and the zoning district is GRP. And this is a request for an SUP application, and we did receive the actual application in October of last year, and it showed plan view drawing and the city map and talking about any possible impacts on neighbors, types of activities and building square footage. And they request approval of this, and it will be a business use. And it will be an excavation business on property that the applicants live on. And so we've classified this as a residential business and more specifically as a cottage industry. And so this business will include excavation equipment, semis, trucks, skid steers, mini excavators, road graders, and other things. It'll include occasional maintenance and repair of these systems. And the applicants plan to use 2 existing structures. One will be for an office with storage. No, I'm sorry. One I think is an office all by itself with a restroom, and one building will be for storage and a mechanic shop. There'll be 1 full-time resident employee, 1 part-time resident employee, actually the 2 applicants, and 4 non-resident employees. 3 of those will be full-time, 1 will be part-time. Hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Again, we've classified this as a cottage industry because of the activities, the size, and the fact that the applicants live on the parcel. The location of this, it's on lot 1 of the Holly Simple subdivision. It's on Highway 14A. It's immediately west of County Road 13. It's about 3/4 miles northeast of Ralston and a little over 3 miles southwest of Powell. And just briefly, Mr. Chairman, history, we've been visiting in contact with the applicants for several months now, going back to early 2020. Originally, they talked about having several different businesses on the property. One would be commercial storage, and these were just potential businesses. One was commercial storage, one was a gravel sales operation, one was equipment rental and sales, and the applicants then finally or ultimately decided on the excavation business. And the reason why some of these other businesses wouldn't be allowed is because our regs say that only 2 primary uses are allowed on a lot or parcel. So we count this excavation business as 1, and we count the residents as another. So they're really restricted into how many things they can do. And we do have in our report, top of page 3, we do recommend an investigation fee because the applicants were conducting business without a permit. And so that is our recommendation, that they do be charged that $150 investigation fee. So that's something for you to consider. As I mentioned, this is in the zoning district GRP. Cottage industry uses are allowed there, provided a special use permit is approved. Site characteristic, again, I did mention this is on a subdivision lot. It's about 3.3 acres. It's fairly level. And there'll be approximately 2.9 acres that will be used for this business. And really you can see kind of the business use in figure 3, and also in Mr. Chairman, there's another plan that shows a nice picture of the business use. Figure 5, that is their site plan. Essentially, kind of the west portion of this lot will be the business use. And in terms of neighboring uses, primarily residential vacant, and agricultural. And immediately to the east, on the east side of Road 13, there is the Park County Weed and Pest Office. legal notices. Of course, this is a public hearing. We had notices in the Powell Tribune on December 29th of last year and January 12th of this year. We sent the notice to neighbors out on December 28th. We shared the staff report with all of you before today and the applicant. In terms of agency notices, this is an SUP, so we notified people who we thought would have a possible interest in this. Weed and Pest responded. Mary said there is an existing long-term noxious weed plan on the property, and she did share it with the applicants. YDOT, the applicants have been in contact with YDOT, and YDOT requested that, or I guess agreed, that the applicants move their access into this property about 300 feet to the west and enlarge it. And then YDOT is going to require that the existing access, which is closer to their house, be abandoned. So that is YDOT, my understanding is YDOT's requirement. We did receive information from Public Works. I'm just going to try to summarize. Brian and his office addressed the access, talked about that. The applicants did send Brian a drainage plan that has been approved. And Brian did comment on, or his office commented on the storage of oil and fuel products because the applicants do have, I believe, fuel stored in some above ground containers. And Public Works recommends that they follow the Code of Federal Regulations part that deals with that. And you may have some questions about that. And I did notice that Brian shared an email with the applicants the end of December saying basically to comply with that, there's because of their size, because their tanks are relatively small, they, I believe, can self-certify to correspond to that, comply with that. Fire district responded, they can provide fire protection. Treasurer said taxes are paid. Shoshone Irrigation responded, they said this use will not have any effect on any water rights or facilities. Game and Fish had no concerns. Rocky Mountain Power responded that they can provide power. We've not received any public comments. Planning and Zoning looked at this on December 15th. They recommended approval. They had a list of conditions that they recommended. Mr. Chairman, in terms of compatibility and impacts, again, traffic impacts, the applicants believe it will not be significant. Basically, 4 employees arriving in the morning, going out to job sites, coming back in the evening. Very few customers actually being on this location. They talked about noise. Some of that will be inside the shop where they do maintenance. Some of that will be outside, tractor trailers being started in the morning. This location does have a water well that the applicants would like to use. They have a Northwestern water tap that is not being used. No setback concerns, no covenants existing or proposed. Outdoor lighting, the applicants do have 3 yard lights. Those are all downward directed, and so in my opinion, they really limit trespass to other properties. We know of no nonconformities on this parcel. We know of no nuisances. I talked about access. I'll talk in a minute about water well quality, but they will use a well. Parking is shown on their site plan, and in our opinion, adequate parking exists for these employees and the occasional customer. And of course, they park their trucks and other equipment. In terms of sewage and wastewater disposal, the applicants do have a unpermitted restroom in the office building. We don't have a permit for that. Our recommendation is to allow them to continue to use that until it fails. If it does fail, then ask them to get a new permit. They are proposing 2 signs. The applicants know those will have to be permitted with our office. Obviously, there are private companies that will remove solid waste. This does require site plan review, and we did go through that with the applicants. I will just talk about the water well. We did receive a analysis of the water well sample in August. And we have a list here of all the things that, none of the things came back over the limit. So the water is safe for consumption. And there was no call for it. We know of no hazardous substances, again, other than possibly just a fuel stored in those containers. They do have access from Highway 14A. This use will not impact any lakes, reservoirs, or streams. This use will not impact any wetlands. Air quality, we don't believe that will be impacted. We don't know of any nuisances on the property. We don't anticipate any. This use or this location is not in an overlay district. And this use is not in the planning area where special site plan standards apply. And one more thing, Mr. Chairman, I know the applicants, and I think it's in a report, the applicants would like to have some displays of gravel in 1 cubic yard cases, I guess. And so that's something for you to consider.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Scott?
Mr. Chairman, first, there's a noxious weed across the street from the weed and pest office.
A little ironic there.
Yes,
Anything from Lloyd, you have something? We're just running a little bit tight.
I can wait for discussion.
Okay, anything from the applicants? Are you good with this application?
The only thing I have is that the investigation fee we paid on 9/16.
Okay.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's
So
already
it's been-
paid for.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay, noted.
Well, that was, Mr. Chairman, that was my question, is the application fee. This is somewhat new that I believe. I don't think we've
Investigation
seen
fee.
it before.
Investigation fee.
Investigation fee.
Right.
Right, and I was just wondering why, I mean, I'm full support of this. Number one, there's been a business in there, all these plumbing and heating for over 50 years. He was excavation, he had dump trucks, backhoes, things like that, skid steers for 50 plus years there. These applicant purchased property assuming they could have a similar type business, and they worked, I believe, with the county when they were made aware. So, I mean, it's like a penalty for, because they had a business there, and I'm not following what that fee covers and why.
Well, so we have, since I've been with the county 6 years, my knowledge is we've always had that investigation fee. And we ask people to pay that when we discover somebody who's not compliant. Yeah, because we discovered they were operating a business without a special use permit. And I believe that occurred before they came to us. I believe that triggered them to come to us and talk about, well, what can we do and what would it take?
And I guess that's where I'm going with this. When they were made aware, I mean, if I bought Dick Jones Trucking, I would assume I could have a business there.
Right.
Now, maybe I should have, I guess it's buyer, I just, anyway. I've never seen it enforced in my short 2 years here.
Okay. Just curious, how much was the fee?
150.
150.
Up 150.
And can I say that I actually paid $100 because that was before the fee was increased, and so Joy had agreed to $100.
Okay, will be noted that they've noted that they've. So is it public hearing? We got any comments from the public? Any more questions for staff? Hearing none, entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Boom, second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing's closed. What's your pleasure, folks?
Mr. Chairman, I support this simply because they're a business trying to make things,
Is
they're
that a
doing
motion,
improvements and things like that. Pardon?
Is that in the form of a motion, Commissioner?
Yes,
Taylor?
well, where I'm going with this, and I don't know whether it can be done, and we can, I would move to approve special use permit price set with staff recommendations, with the exception of 7, which is the applicant said we need to revert, where if you've already paid 100, leave it at 100. The applicant condition shows 150. Correct that to 100.
So
I'll second if it's corrected.
moved and seconded to approve it with the correction of the application fee being up $100. Commissioner Tilden.
That's the application fee.
I mean, excuse me, investigation.
Investigation
fees.
fee.
Okay,
Investigation
that's
fee.
where I was going with this too. Maybe you can explain to the applicant, Ken, give me a little history of this. You said that there's been a business for 40 or 50 years?
Oh, plus, yeah. Holly's Plumbing and Heating has been there
Okay,
longer than I can remember.
well now, when you folks purchased the property, how long ago?
November 3rd, 2017.
Pardon?
November 3rd, 2017.
Okay, 2017. When you purchased the business, were you led to believe that you could start a different business there without any permits or anything like that?
Yeah, we didn't know it was,
We were uneducated on special use permits.
Pardon?
We were uneducated on special use permits, yeah.
and we were the
Okay.
ones who turned ourselves in.
We
Like,
actually called to.
Called and
yeah.
asked questions about storage units, and so we like incriminated ourselves, essentially.
So I mean, the point I'm making, when you purchased the property, you felt in all good conscience that you could open this business because the businesses have been operating there without any type of permits at all.
Yes,
And it wasn't until county planning and zoning contacted you and said, you're out of compliance, you need to come in and get a special use permit, and we're gonna charge you $150 for an investigation fee. Am I right on there?
we came in asking questions, and then that's when we learned that we were out of compliance.
And you already paid $100.
Yeah, on September 16th.
Kim, is there a problem if we refund that $100?
I was gonna go there, Mr. Chairman, but I thought I might be going to.
Not to my knowledge, and we've refunded payments before when the people like have overpaid. We've done this before.
Commissioner Teal, you want to redo your motion?
I would love to rescind my motion or modified amended to exclude condition 7 with, and also to refund their existing deposit to the investigation fee.
Are you good with that, Commissioner Oldfield?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the amendment to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now it's been moved that we approve the application and remove the investigation fee completely. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go for it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you much, appreciate it.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the public hearing, excuse me, Park County Planning and Zoning Planner 2, Kim DeVille, public hearing on the Kodiak Minor Subdivision Sketch Plan Review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the applicant for this is Kodiak Properties LLC. This property is in the general rural PAL zoning district of planning area PAL. We did receive an application for this in November of last year, including the things you see their payment and a copy of the notice of intent to subdivide. The applicant requests approval of this 5-lot minor subdivision. One lot would be 1.6 acres, one lot would be just over 5 acres, one lot would be 6.1 acres, one lot 8.6 acres, and one lot 8.6 acres, all for residential use. And this parcel does have an existing residence in the northwest corner with an address, County Lane 8.5. And that existing residence is in, I believe, proposed lot 1. We did classify this as a minor because it is 5 lots proposed. Legal description is it's 30 acres currently. The location, you can see it in figure 2. It's essentially just east and a little bit north of, well, mostly east of the city of Powell. And you see a copy of the sketch plan that's on page 2. It's figure 1. As I mentioned, this is in GRP. The lot sizes as proposed are appropriate and are allowed in that zoning district. Neighboring uses are, you can see that nicely in figure 3. There are several current subdivisions around it, mostly to the west and southwest, or I'm sorry, to the east and southeast and to the southwest. Otherwise, it's surrounded by agricultural land. Site characteristics, as I mentioned, lot 1 does have a residence. The other 4 lots are vacant. This property is not within the 1 mile of the city of Powell. And so we did not notify them. They don't need to respond. This is a public hearing. And so the public hearing notice was put in the Powell Tribune on December 29th of last year, January 12th of this year. That certified notice mailed to neighbors that occurred, that was mailed on December 28th. No, I did mention notice of intent to subdivide. That occurred on October 20th and October 27th of last year. Of course, the staff report was shared with all of you and the applicants before today. Since this is a subdivision, we have a list of agencies we have to contact, and then we also contact some who we think might have an interest. TCT was contacted, they responded, they can provide internet and wireless service in the area. Postal Service responded, they can provide delivery of mail. Park County Fire District 1 responded, they can provide fire equipment provided that the subdivision will accommodate their equipment. We did receive a soils report, summarized letter, I believe was shared with you. They identified 7 soil types. Weed and Pest was notified. Mary did an initial inspection, found the presence of noxious weeds, and she will require a long-term weeds management plan. My understanding is we've not received that yet. Park County School District 1 responded, they can provide bus service. Rocky Mountain Power has responded. They are the electricity provider in the area. They have the ability to provide service. Northwest Rural Water responded. They have the ability to provide domestic water. And our understanding is the applicants will have domestic rural water provided to those lots. Shoshone Irrigation District, it's in their district. They did receive a water distribution plan. They said that's acceptable. Treasury said taxes are all paid. Game and Fish had no concerns. NBU will be the gas provider. They have a main along County Lane 8.5, and they said they can provide service to these lots. Public Works responded. I'll try to summarize. Public Works, Lot 1 will have direct access off County Road 8.5. The other lots will have access off Kodiak Road, which the name of Kodiak Road has been approved by Public Works. And of course, it must be made to Public Works standards. They said it'd be a local access road. Construction plans and details for the new road needs to be submitted to Public Works. Public Works then will look at those and approve. And Public Works also would like to have associated with the road a runoff and erosion control plan for and around close to Kodiak Road. In terms of public comments, we've not received any. Planning and Zoning looked at this sketch plan on December 15th of last year. They recommended approval. You saw the whole list of things that they recommend. Just briefly, number 2, P&Z wanted Public Works to respond. That has occurred. We shared that with you. They responded who would be responsible for road maintenance and snow removal. That has occurred. So we do have a draft road maintenance agreement. And we do have a draft homeowners association agreement. My understanding is, though, the applicants want that home association agreement to be reviewed by their attorney. So I believe we'll get another draft homeowner association agreement sometime soon. The road name has been finalized. Electricity has not been stubbed yet to each lot. It needs to be. Natural gas has not been stubbed each lot. It needs to be. And domestic water is going to be made adjacent to each lot. And we do, as I mentioned, we do have an irrigation plan. The pre-app meeting that occurred on September 14th of last year. Application fee has been paid. I mentioned the notice of intent to subdivide. We did get a copy of the title report. In terms of solid waste, private companies are available, and I'll skip over things I've already talked about. We know of known hazards on this property. Of course, you did see a copy of the sketch plan. A subsurface evaluation has been conducted on this property it's 5 lots, so that needs to be done on a minimum of half the lot, so it was done on 3 of the lots. Perk rates were all between 8 and 10 minutes per inch, which is a reasonable perk rate for conventional systems. Depth to groundwater cuts were made down to 9 feet, and either gravel or rock shelf or groundwater was discovered at 8 feet. And so likely that separation distance between bottom of leach fields, and any impervious layer can be met. So we believe conventional systems will be likely. Agriculture impacts. You saw, Mr. Chairman, on the middle of page 12, the applicants have a paragraph, how they would respond to being around agriculture. And also, this land is not in an ag overlay district. In terms of water rights, again, there has been a plan that's been approved by Shoshone. Since this is a minor, no state review is required. And Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions for staff? Lloyd?
And for applicant,
And, yeah,
Mr. Chairman. The homeowner association draft agreement, you said you wanted to have reviewed by who wrote it?
I wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wrote it with help from a draft that Cody gave me, and I'm having our attorneys review it to make sure that we're not gonna be liable for something in the
Okay,
future
okay.
that wouldn't be pertinent.
Well, I wasn't, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming it has stuff in it that you want.
Yes.
Okay.
And Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner too, we did recommend that HOA because there is a shared road.
No, Mr. Chairman, I agree. I mean, that's great to have. I still question whether or not we should be enforcing that or requiring it. But
we're,
if you're in agreement and you're good with it,
Pretty simple one.
we're, actually, we're not, Commissioner Teal, we are not enforcing an HOA. We're requiring an HOA. But we're not enforcing.
and that being my issue. If we're gonna require it, then we should at least recognize them. So.
Fair enough.
So, Mr. Chairman, does that mean all of these subdivisions have to have a homeowners association? They don't? Yeah.
It's based, my understanding is it's based on any property that may be of mutual interest within the subdivision. So if there's a road everybody's involved in, or something like that, that all lots need to be responsible for.
Mr. Chairman, that seems to be the trend, but there's nothing that says in our regulations that say we have to do that. Correct?
That we were.
What Dossie said, I think it's a good idea. I'm just saying, she was answering Commissioner Mangold that if the main road accesses more than one or two lots, that this is why we have it. And I understand that, but there's nothing in our regulations of subdivisions that says we have to require an HOA.
Require one. I don't remember the exact language, but it does speak to the fact that should there be shared something, that an HOA is required. I believe it says something similar to that.
Commissioner Teal.
Yeah, just a quick comment along the lines of what we're discussing here. And I say this because we've got problems with covenants and those types of things constantly. And the county does not enforce covenants at all. We do not. Don't even think about going there.
No, I know that.
So, but the only advice I can give you, having dealt with it and heard the problems in the past, and the agreement that you wrote here, I like it, with the exception of you could potentially run into the problem if you do have serious maintenance to do on your road. The people don't want to pay. You're better off if you get the money up front and hold it in an account someplace. That's just advice.
Okay, public hearing, any public comment? Hearing none, entertain a motion closed.
So moved.
Second. Moved and second to close public hearing for the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing closed. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve Kodiak Minor Subdivision 45 as presented.
Second.
Moved and second to approve, further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
You
Thank
got
you
out of
very
this
much.
pretty easy, Cody.
I'm here on the next one too.
Yeah.
Gonna have a seat for a while. Okay.
All right, next.
Excuse me, the prior one is 2020-03, this one's 2020-04. Thanks, Kim.
Next up, it's not a public hearing, but it's Park County Planning and Zoning Planner 2 Chem Development on the Prairie Acres minor subdivision final plat review.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the applicants for this major subdivision is Mr. Griffin and Mr. Richardson. This property is also in GRP, planning areas PAL. We did receive the application for this the final plat application was received for this, this minor subdivision. If I said major earlier, I apologize. This is a minor. We did receive the final plat application earlier in January this year. There were some correction changes made. We did then get the final plat on January 12th. Of course, we shared that with you. The requested action here is the approval of this 3-lot minor subdivision. There'll be 2 10-acre lots, 1 15-acre lot. This will be for residential use. Of course, this is a final plat, so you've already seen the sketch plan of this. The final plat is on page 2. It's figure 1. This location is, again, it's almost 2.5 miles north of Powell, just east of Highway 295. As I mentioned, this is in GRP. The lot sizes proposed are consistent with GRP. Site characteristics is this property is currently vacant, relatively flat. There are some deep irrigation waste ditches on the south side and on the east side of the property. This is not within 1 mile of Powell, so municipal review is not required. No public hearing notices are required for a final plat. We've not received any public comments for this subdivision, I believe, throughout the entire process. You, the county commissioners, reviewed this sketch plan on September 1st last year, had some conditions. We have those listed on page 5 of this. Just a couple comments. Number 2, we asked who is, our regs asked for who will be responsible for road maintenance when there is a road. That is on a condition on the final plat. It's condition 12. You might have seen that. Also, we did share with you an as-built drawing, shows utility locations. So in particular, that as-built drawing shows the new location of a northwest rural water line and electricity line, a power line. And then gas is along Highway 295. Garden Light and Power also shared an email, said that the work was completed to their standards, the electricity. And we did get a letter from Public Works saying that they did a review and they approved of the improvements, all the improvements for the subdivision. This will also, as you know, this will include a short road. And also another comment, number 4, we do have an approved long-term noxious weed management plan. We do have written approval from Shoshone that their water distribution plan looks good. Our plat review committee met electronically, met remotely on January 12th. We got some corrections and changes pretty quickly. We got them back that same day onto the final plat. And all of the final plat supporting documents and final plat approval conditions have been met. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? No question. Getting off easy, Cody. Okay. Hearing none, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second to approve. The discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Kim. Commissioner Teal.
Kim, can you check into that, whether that's required?
I can. The HOA.
Yeah.
And when?
Send us the language on, because I know that it is required, but I want to know why,
Is it a shall or may? So kind of a thing is what I'm after.
What's that?
If it's a shall or may.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, I will find it.
As long as you guys are ready for another 15 subdivisions.
Yeah. That's what I hear.
And that's just one group.
We didn't have to bring that up.
So this one needs one too, so that's what
Thank you.
today, this one we just did,
I believe it.
so that would be 5.
today from 3, 4, and 5.
Correct.
Thank you.
I don't think we've ever.
Thank you.
Well, but I mean, if it is, this one basically is going against it. I mean, it's a condition we can put on, and that's all the reason why this last one. Because it's not requiring an HOA. It's just saying it has to be spelled out on the plat, and it is. It says the road will be maintained by owner of lot 1.
Is
What's
that
What's
because
that little sliver of
I have to
field?
pull up, you're on Prairie, you're on Prairie.
The
It
road
was on
on
that
this
figure
last-
2,
I'm just trying
SharePoint
to
just
see
crashed.
where
Oh.
their consistency is.
little
or isn't.
tiny
Well,
little
it may depend on the
angle of
use. If
BLM,
it's only one
right
lot that
there.
has to use the road.
Huh?
If
right
it's
in the
only
middle
one
of
lot that has to use the
John
road,
Stutzman's
that's different than
property.
if all
Well, not
lots have
middle,
to use the road.
taking out a chunk of it.
No,
No,
Figure
I said
3
yes.
has it
I'm not-
exempt.
I'd have to look, but
unless I'm looking at it wrong. Where are we at?
I think there it goes.
Just sort of
Mr.
seems
Chairman,
weird
can I
they
have-
got that little.
Brian, we're good, we're ready for you.
Oh, you ready?
Yep. Next up on the agenda, Park County Engineer Brian Edwards, substantial completion of county corners building and request for release of part of retainage funds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, contractor filed their construction, our construction manager at risk recently knocked out all the remaining punch list items. We did our final walkthrough a few weeks ago. And they've been issued from the city of Cody their temporary certificate of occupancy. So building in use now as we speak. There are really no substantial punch list items remaining other than some things that we've got to take care of on the county side that's outside the contract. They involve landscaping and things like that. So we've got a few things to do there. But as far as the contract goes, we've issued the certificate of substantial completion. The notices are in the paper for to the subcontractors and suppliers. And that into that 41-day period is like, I believe it's the last week in February, 1st of March, right in there. And so what the contractor asked is we're sitting on about $50,000, we as the county, of retainage that's held. Because there are really no other contract items remaining to be, sometimes it's landscaping or seeding or things that they have remaining to do. We really don't have anything like that. And then we're in the process of getting all the lien release waivers from the subcontractors and suppliers. I have a pretty big list of those. So my thought was if the commissioners are in agreement that we could release some portion of that $50,000 early, provided that we have signed lien release waivers from all their suppliers and subcontractors. So that, I guess, is what I'm proposing or asking, if that be something that you.
Commissioner Tilden.
Just a quick question, did the floor get painted?
It has not been painted yet, it's my understanding. I don't know, in the buildings and grounds. It wasn't as of late last week. I don't know about if they got it done yet.
Okay.
Because saw the picture in the paper, it wasn't painted.
And that's supposed to be at no cost?
That's
to
at
the
no
county?
cost, correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Teal.
So what you're asking today is release approximately 40,000.
Correct.
And then the other 10 would be after 41-day public hearing.
Yeah, I would come back to you again, and that would be.
At which time you would have a complete list of all subcontractors and suppliers.
Correct.
In addition to that, the contract, do you have any type of a warranty?
There is a 1-year warranty on the building, and I have to go back and look at some of the items like the cooler. Some of those manufacturer
Right.
warranties might be different. on the
Might be
building,
different on those, yeah.
But the building's a year.
Okay.
Commissioner Mango.
Brad, do you do the final inspection of it then?
I do, and actually this has been kind of a project by committee, so I've had a few commissioners and buildings and grounds, several people have been involved in that. So yeah, I would assume myself and buildings and grounds would do that final inspection.
You were thinking that at least 10,000 stashed away would, for what you've already seen.
Yes,
Right.
would more than cover anything that we could think of that's out there. And like I say, I'm proposing not releasing any until we have the late release waivers, which she's working on now, and I probably will have by the end of the week.
Okay.
So once I know that all their suppliers have been paid,
That was my question, to
Yeah.
make sure the suppliers had all been paid
Yeah.
before we released much.
yeah, they understand that, and she's working diligently to get that done. But past that, I just don't see much of what, we know that everything's working, everything's been fixed.
The compressor.
Compressor, everything's been operational.
Commissioner
Commissioner Teal.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve release of $40,000 of retaining 10,000 only of retention once all lien releases have been issued to the county on the project.
Okay,
I'll second.
moved and seconded. Further discussion.
With real quick question, is our cooler working now? We got.
It is working, it's up and going.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. Next up, we have Park County Landfill Manager Greg Palmershine is going to open sealed bids for the metal salvaging services.
Mr. Chairman, we received 3 bids. We will say we're not sure about this one, but their name is Western Metals Recycling, so we believe it's for this project also. But
That's
was
pretty,
not-
that's some pretty good.
I would say that's a real good.
it was not on the envelope.
She's a detective.
Okay. So just a quick update on what we're doing here. Greg.
Yeah, so, in each one of the landfills, the Powell, Clark, and Park Regional landfills, we have a stockpile of metal, mostly appliances and miscellaneous metals that is getting to the point where we need to move it along, and recyclers will pay a fee to come in, bundle it, weigh it, and take it outside.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I add for the public and possibly the press that in the past, I believe we've just, picked and choose, and Greg is following our procurement policy.
I recall
Of
receiving
advertising.
bids. I do recall receiving bids on it.
We have.
So, yeah, but it's good. We're gonna move forward with it and see what we got.
Okay, first one is the Western Metals Recycling. The bid amount is $150 per ton.
Mr. Chairman, where are they out of, Greg? Western Metals, where are they out of?
Their mailing address is Plymouth, Utah.
Utah? Okay.
Real quick, so no Wyoming preference or certificate, because there might be that on one or two of these, but you don't see anything like that.
No.
Can I bring more?
The second bid is from Pacific Recycling.
I don't know.
I know nothing about salvage, but it seems odd to me.
From where?
I'll bring my stuff in.
Yeah,
Have to
I had a whole
open it up.
bunch of
Oh,
stuff.
it doesn't say on the outside. Oh, it might be from here then, because they must have hand delivered it.
They are bidding from their Casper Mills Pacific Recycling Branch. Their bid is $148 a ton, and they're requesting 5% preference for being from the Wyoming, for being from Wyoming, but not included as a certificate of residency that we asked for to be included with the bid. They did,
Is it not included?
not included. They did include a letter asking that, but we'd asked for a certificate of recycle, or certificate of residency from Wyoming Workforce. The third bid is from Harris Trucking Construction. Did include a certificate of residency status. They're requesting a 10% preference for one for being based in Park County, 5% for Park County and 5% for Wyoming. And their bid per ton was $141 per ton.
What was that? Sorry, sir.
141.
Thank you.
Okay. So you'll come back to us later after looking them over and with a recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I got a quick question. And it's probably a stupid question, but I'll ask it anyway. I know there's a Wyoming preference when we let out a bid for something we want done. We're paying somebody, but is it the same Wyoming preference if they're paying us?
That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Brian and I looked it up because we were asking the same question yesterday. When we looked it up, it's for materials and services and construction. So from our interpretation, it did.
Yeah, but that's when we're buying something.
Mr. Chairman, the way, and we could get a formal opinion from the county attorney on this between now and one, but the way we understand and interpret it, it's a contract for services. Even in this case, works out to be a credit.
Whichever way the money is going, it's still
Yeah.
service.
So we're gonna allow them to pay us less.
Less.
Then that's the only way I can wrap my head around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can ask you when you come back.
Yeah.
In our, Mr. Chairman, in our request, we did specify you have to send a certificate.
Right. The last paragraph
It does.
says, in order for a contractor to claim Wyoming and/or Park County preference, a certificate of residency must be provided with the contractor's bid as issued by the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services. And then it goes on to say
That's fine.
5% for Wyoming recycle contractors and an additional 5% for Park County metal recyclers that have an office established in Park County.
Come back to your recommendation. I'm sure it'll be a good discussion.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Harris won. Harris wins.
Well, another real quick question. Do you have any idea, an estimate of the tonnage we have available?
No.
Okay.
But in this case, more is better.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So
That's why I wanted to, my comment was, can I bring my stuff in? That seems like a pretty dang good price.
Those are pretty good prices.
Yeah. Steel must be doing good.
Better.
Thanks for stopping by. Well, is Barb out there? I thought I saw Barb out there.
Clerk Renner's first.
Clerk Renner, that's right, Clerk Renner, sorry. I was trying to skip over that. Park County Clerk Colleen Renner approved to replace Park County Clerk's personnel.
Okay, so we did a lot of brainstorming and we would like to put out for a part-time person. We would like to put in the paper advertising for as you all know, one of my newbies already left. I mean, it's a very stressful job. There's a lot of parts and pieces to it. You have to work with the public. There's a lot to it. She decided she couldn't handle it, so she's left. But in brainstorming right now, we are pretty caught up. But that can change. But we would really like to put it out there first to see if someone would be interested part-time. So, and I'd like to list the hours so they know it would be a job from like 10 to 2, covering our lunch hours. That's when we're the busiest because we're down a person anyway. And then if we receive no applicants for that, then come back and talk to you again about a possible, and you know, this is a 2-3 week process. So we could see at that time how far, if we have gotten behind, how far we've gotten behind. You know, January is always a slow month for us, but it's not slow in land. As you know, we're averaging 50 to 60 land documents a day. Simplifile is blowing our computers up. But you know, this person wouldn't do land right away anyway. So, but that's what we would like to do.
Okay. Commissioner Tilden.
You know, and I mean, I commend you and your department for trying to save us money here, but I'm having a little hard time grasping as we went. A couple of years ago, you did away with one employee and we worked for 6 or 8 months. And then you came back and said, I gotta have this person, we're so far behind. And, you know, we've allowed you to hire 2 new positions or fill 2 positions in the last 5-6 months, whatever it is, because you're so far behind. So my question is, I mean, I do commend you for trying to save us some money, but is this a wise move?
That's why I would like to put it out there first, Joe, to see if there's even any interest. Part-time people are not always easy to hire. They're, you know, but if I advertise that way first, and I will tell you, I advertise in the help wanted, and so it's like $9. I don't put out the big $180 some ad with the little logo and all that. So it's very cheap for me to advertise and help wanted. And I would just like to take 2 weeks and see if I get any interest. And then, you know, like I said, if we don't get any interest, then I will probably come back to you as full-time because as you know, we are a busy office and eventually we will, but we'd like to try part-time first to save the county some money and possibly save them some money and possibly maybe help some mom out there that just wants a part-time job.
Okay, great.
Or
Thank
dad, don't be.
Or dad, sorry, yes,
Come
or
on.
dad.
Commissioner Hopefield, did you have something?
Just an update a little bit. One of the discussions we've had recently in the benefits and employee committee work is a thought process that you just need to work on the thought process a little bit with what Colleen is saying. There's a discussion out there about also a floater position within the 4 or 5 offices that may be able to use it through the year. So if the part-time works out okay and that fills, but she finds out she's still a little bit behind and Barb has times a year that she's behind and you know, others have times that they need somebody to cover their office. This might be a way that we could do multiple things with one person. And so I just want you to keep that in mind, that it's a thought process. So if this works, it may work really good. If it doesn't, we'll know more later.
Commissioner Tito.
Well, my comment, I guess, is I think it's a great idea too. My biggest concern is, are we certain a part-time person will cover you if you get back to busy again? And with that, at the time we realize we need a full-time, then what do? Can part-time? Or will it, you know, I'm concerned that we hire somebody part-time and then we don't, and it doesn't fill the need, then we have to hire a full-time. And would we fire the part-time person?
No, I think what we would first do is offer the part-time a full-time position.
And if they,
interested.
and if they apply
And
for,
if they're not, then what we would do is put out for another part-time person. What we're trying, what we're working on possibly doing is eliminating having to do the benefits.
right,
Sure.
You know, it's costly for the county to do benefits. The treasurer's office has worked really well with 1 or 2 part-time people. The clerk's office, we've never tried it. We've never tried it. And so I would like the opportunity at this time to try it. And maybe it is only a part-time person that we need. I just can't say for sure now.
okay.
You know, in years past, we've always asked for full-time. I'd like to try, see if I can get a part-time person interested.
Mr. Chairman, Colleen, you mentioned the word behind. Do you have some time-sensitive items? that you
Yes,
need to
so
get done?
you'll find working with the legislators that we are committed, filing liens and things like that. They're all statute related. And so
It has to
they
be
have to
done
be
in a
done
certain
in a
amount of
timely
time.
manner. Yes.
So do you usually
So-
put everything else on the back burner when all these come in, the time-sensitive ones, as opposed to somebody just getting a title?
So how it kind of works is everything that comes through the mail or through the door is logged in first. So that way we know when a person calls, we know if we've received their documentation or not. We log in and date stamp everything. So when a bank says that they maybe send us paperwork a week ago, we still haven't processed. We go into the system and we go, well, we have not received a VIN inspection, or the client hasn't come in and signed or paid their sales tax, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, everything is time sensitive to a certain degree. When the banks were loaning all the money and they were just as far behind as we were. So it wasn't a serious situation at that time. But yeah, most of our stuff is time sensitive.
Anything else?
I'll move that we go ahead and approve the advertising for the halftime position.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
now we can move to Park County Treasurer Bart Poley for a update of where we are. We've got a lot of paperwork there.
I know. Good morning, and thanks for letting me kind of speak to you guys today.
Can you
I'm
do that just electronically?
I am going forward. I just kind
Okay.
of wanted to show you by paper what I'm gonna start sending out electronically.
Great.
So yes, I will, I promise. So would you hand all of them out? Yes. And some of them you guys are already getting, but I just kind of wanted to show you so that I can look at them also at the same time. So basically what I'd like to start doing is, because budget is so coming fast and I want to make sure that we're on the right track, I kind of wanted to give you a heads up and start giving you guys updates on the status of at least the revenue side. And so I'm going to start with the unencumbered reports. You guys get these big monsters every month. And I'm just giving you the cover sheets on both of them, and they look like this. So this one's the one I'm looking at. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'd like to compare it to last year so that you guys have an idea. I'm not going to go back several years because everything's so different right now that I just don't want to compare it to past years. The unencumbered report is basically what the treasurer's put together, the treasurer's office on the whole budget or the whole economy or whatever you want to call it of the county. So if you look at 2019 and you look in the far right-hand corner down here, you're going to see that we were running in the red this time last year, December, 1.6 to the good. Okay, so if you look at this year, which I don't want to throw everybody off, but it shows that we're 5.8 million to the good. What I want everybody to understand is that's because PILT, which is 2 million, is in there. So we've got to look at this differently this year. So we've already put PILT into the general fund. So that's 2 million. We also have 600,000, which is the pass-through grant for the 501c3. So 2.5 million of that basically, is different from last year. Also, if you look at the expenditures, we have not spent near the money we did last year. It's about 200,000 difference. So if you look at it that way, we're truly on track for our budget. So keep that in mind. So that's a good thing. So just going through, you can go through landfill, CRF, events, all those different budgets are in this packet we send out monthly. And you can kind of see where they're at. So if you look at the top, you can see how much is in those enterprise funds right now, that type of thing. So if you have any questions on these reports that we send out, please come down and see us.
So do the math for me, Barb, real quick. You just said we're last year, this time we were 1.6 million.
Mhm.
This year, this time we're 5.8.
5.8.
So we take 2 million off for pill, that's 3.8. We take 600,000 off for the charitable relief
Right.
grants, that's 3.2. We're spending $200 less,
$200,000.
$200,000 less. So that puts us at 3. So how is that putting us right on track if we're
Well,
1.5 ahead?
We're right on track if you look through our budget. So we've collected more taxes and stuff, but we're basically on track for the budget. So if you look at each one, the revenue, we're at 49% roughly year to date, same as last year.
So everything's the same, but we got more money sitting there.
Right, because we haven't spent as much, if you look at it.
Okay, so
and
then I
we've
guess what I'm
also-
getting at is we're
yeah.
not on the same track.
We're not, okay,
Yeah.
so truthfully, we're ahead of schedule right now.
That's what I'm just.
Yeah, but we
a
haven't
simple out there.
spent as much, so that means that probably some of the departments have not put in for large expenditure items.
And you're
So-
expecting those large expenditures?
Well, and each department's different, so I don't know what they've expended out there, but if you look at,
So they'd have to be going into a completely different spending pattern in order to not spend.
Mike, that's where, Mr. Chairman, you said that revenue, we're setting pretty even,
right,
49%.
and that's my.
What about expense
and ex-
percentage?
Expense like this month, you're paying out all the entities or the 4 boards.
I'm
That's
saying
over $1
compared to
million.
19, where do we set? Do we have a comparison on
Yeah, so if you
expenditures?
look on here on expenses, year to date in 20, we've spent 1.2. And year to date last year, we spent 1.7. So last year, we had already spent 1.7 million. This year, we've only spent 1.2.
So we spent 500 less.
So there's money and revenue side that we haven't spent.
Okay, Commissioner Oldfield.
I was just gonna say, we approved a voucher this morning for 210,000 for road and bridge.
Mhm.
And we're also looking at the fact that most of our items in buildings and grounds that were to be contracted and done, none of them have been done yet. We're waiting on the carpet bids and things like that, where we set up.
And that's all I was after
Yeah,
is
sorry about
we're seeing if we take numbers for numbers, we're looking way good.
Mhm.
But if we're seeing a different spending pattern
Mhm.
than we have historically seen, then we're about on track.
Right.
We
And-
could be on track.
That's the revenue side, so,
Yeah.
and I don't know all the details on the expenditure side and what everybody has that they're gonna spend at this time. But if you look at everybody's budgets and all the reports, Colleen sends out a detailed report every month. And so if you guys utilize all those reports, you'll have a good idea of where we're at budget time. So just the unencumbered, I just wanted to point out that 5 million looks awesome, but in all honesty, it's the PILT and the CARES funds and different things put into the general right now. So I just want everybody to know that. So if you have questions on the unencumbered, please get with us. And those are sent out just like these packets every month. So, and you guys are all getting them, right? Okay. The next one is our sales and use tax, and I send those out. So basically, if you look, we budgeted about $1 million less last year, or this year for sales and use. So we're about 7.23 down from last year for collecting sales and use, and you'll see that. The interesting thing is use taxes up, which means people that buy from out of state pay the taxes or maybe online. That portion was up last month. When I talked to Barry at the city, he said the same thing. Their use tax was up, their sales tax was down. So because we budgeted that million less, roughly, we're doing for budget purposes, we're right on track for that. So you'll be able to see that every month. One of the other ones that I sent out was this, or I'm going to send out, you guys, is this really long sheet. And this gives you an idea, and this is a new one, and this is pertaining to the treasurer's office more than anything. And it's giving you a comparison to last year of the registration fees, the number of registration transactions, sales tax collected, the whole picture of what goes on in the treasurer's office. And you'll see from this time last year, absolutely everything's up. You know, when it comes to the motor vehicle side, you know, collection of taxes were up a little bit. It's interesting, we sent out 57,000 renewal cards in this last fiscal year. The year before, 56,000 renewal cards. That means every little trailer, every truck, every car that you have, we actually sent out that many renewal cards. Property taxes, last year we sent out over 23,000 notices. This year, 25,000 notices. So you'll see that we're slowly increasing, you know, year after year. We're still growing as a county, which is good. So just a rough idea, we sent out 324 delinquent property taxes out of all those last year, which that's pretty good. Well, we actually took 324 to paper, excuse me on that. This past year, we sent 266 to the newspapers. So when you guys are talking about advertising, which I know is coming up, when we advertise in both papers, last year it cost us $8,300 for just our delinquent. This year, or this past year was $7,700. So it gives you an idea of how much it costs just my department to post, to take those to tax sale. So I just wanted to let you know. Any questions on this report? And this is what I was going to update and send to you guys. Keep in mind, all the money dispersed goes through the mill levy system where, you know, we get our county portion, but then it's dispersed to the schools, the special districts, all of that. So I wish we really actually had $11 million extra, but we don't. So, you know, in all those columns. So this just gives you an idea of what we're doing in our treasurer's office, and we are growing. I mean, we continue to grow and have more transactions. And I believe Colleen's the same way. Her titles keep on going up. So any questions on any of this? And what I'd like to do is any other reports that you guys have, so that when we get closer to budget, it's a little easier to understand everything. This year, of course, will be a lot nicer because we have the PILT in there. You guys discussed about the direct distribution yesterday. We had received that yesterday for the 338,000, so we are on track to get our other out. We should be right on track for that. I know they discussed they're going to cut that in the future, so, but we will be getting this year, and we received that. So anything else you guys can think of that you would like to hear from me?
CJ.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask for, just to clarify that money that you talked about being spent on the newspaper advertisements, you recoup that full cost from the taxpayers?
We do not. Right now, the statute only allows us to charge $28 per property item. And so we're short about $10 a property right now, just with the recouping. But that's been something we've always done. And I feel like when you ask me about that, that's something that is beneficial to everybody, putting it in both the newspapers, in all honesty, because of the fact there's such a different community. But if we could do, it's by statute, we have to do 3 weeks. If we could do something like every other, something that would help me on my budget, if that was something we could consider.
Commissioner Teal.
Mr. Chairman, Barb, thanks for coming. I like all this. My question is, are you hoping to come in maybe quarterly?
Quarterly would be great. I just didn't know exactly what you guys wanted to see.
I like it. I
So
do,
quarterly would be
but
fine,
it's up,
unless you
for
want
I'm
me
sure
to
it's up
make
to
it
chairman
shorter.
every year, but
Well, if you, yeah, go ahead.
it's
I'm
good
sorry.
stuff.
Yeah. And Barb, if you start seeing some red flags that we need to be aware of, obviously, we need to be updated.
And the biggest thing is all the money comes from the state, I think is one of our red flags. So when they mentioned consensus yesterday, we did get the first half. That doesn't mean Where's the second half? Forest Reserve should be coming in 1st of February. You know, that's a red flag until we get it. So, you know, of course, but yeah, anything that's red flag, I'd sure let you guys know. Otherwise, you know, these reports, and Scott being new, if you have any questions on any of the reports, you know, we're more than willing to tweak them. We've tweaked them over the years for different commissioners so that we could add to them or whatever. So whatever you guys would like.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Barb, that was great. Informative. Appreciate it.
Way ahead of schedule.
No,
You're doing great.
If they're here, we'll bring them in. Commissioner Teal,
May I have 2 minutes?
you can have 5 minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes.
yeah, just-
Did I hear 6? Who'll give you 6?
Then I'll run to the restroom.
I didn't know if I was allowed to stay in.
Yes.
They're not here yet. I told them 10 minutes early, so.
That's good. We got CJ here. We don't need Toby.
Just to kind of help with the flavor. So I'll drink more water.
Now, if that was a blue moon. Yeah.
I wouldn't care, you know.
You guys get to sit up front. We're making
In the chairs.
hot seats, and if you want to spread out and remove your mask, you're welcome to do so. It's a personal preference. Thank you. I can say that cavalierly because I'm sitting way up here.
There you go. Well, he and I have already had it, so.
JT might want to.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I get to sit by these guys because they've already had it, so.
Yeah. We have a commissioner that's already had it, maybe a couple we don't know, but. Well, we're ahead of schedule, but this might be a long, lengthy conversation. So what we want to discuss is, as everyone's aware, the county has to select an official newspaper yearly. And that's where we do our official publications. It's been historically, we've done it with both the Cody Enterprise and the Powell Tribune. There's some discussion last meeting about possibly moving to one paper. We're wanting to get an idea on costs and how all that works. And so we're going to open it up to discussion. We've got Mr. Malmberg and both Mr. Bonners here to kind of give us some intel on how this works. So I'm going to let these guys take it over and talk to us about what we're up against.
Thanks for the opportunity to have us down
Yes.
here today and visit with you guys. And I kind of bring you up to date on the history of this, where this all began. I started at the Enterprise in October of 1978. Dave was there a long time before that, so he's more aware of
He's old.
What's going on, but, the agreement way back then for 50 years has been that the commissioners, and this is because for transparency in the county, that the commissioners and the two papers agreed that we would charge the county half price. And then they would run in both papers so that everybody in the county could see the public notices. So the county pays half the rate that the school district pays, or half the rate that the city pays to each paper.
Okay.
The agreement was that we designate both papers, and then all the citizens in the county would be aware of that. Is the history behind it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you guys are appreciative of the driver of this is, where our budgets are going, where our revenues are going statewide, which trickles down to county and, the utilization and spending of tax dollars, but then we need to weigh that with the public service of making sure that this stuff is out where folks can see it. So I think Commissioner Teal, did you have some questions? Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I do, and Mr. Chairman, like Chairman Livingston said, this is revenue driven, or lack of, if you will. And, we are elected to manage the money. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. We know if there's revenue issues, crisis sudden and coming up, or already here. We tried to remedy that with offering to the constituents, a fifth penny. It was pretty evident, in my opinion, that it's not wanted. They want cuts. We are forced to find those. This may not solve our budget problem, but everything we can whittle down, and we're not picking on you, is what's driving this. I wasn't here 50 years ago. The agreement that, whether it was under the table, behind the back, or written somewhere, I'd like to see it, but I'm not disagreeing with you. But regardless, since I have become commissioner, what I feel is important is I, somewhat along with help of others, investigated a procurement policy for the county, making it, like you said, transparent to everybody as to where we're spending the money and fairly. With that, I feel regardless of what direction we go, we can still designate two. But we also have a procurement policy that says we need to know on services, no different than fuel or anything else, ahead of time, and it helps us with the budget wise as well. So with that, I'm not sure, I'd like to listen, discuss, and see. I guess the question I have is, there's two questions here, maybe. What is your rate that you are currently giving us? And what would be the rate if we went with one? How can we say, if you're saying it ain't gonna happen, but to be fair to the people, you have to understand, that's why the procurement policy and competitive bidding, that's what, how the economy works, you know that. So that's where we're going with this.
State statute.
And I want to say, my intent behind it, and I think it's with everybody else, is not exclusive, we have to name one, but there will still be publications that we know, public hearings, different things in different parts of the county that we'll still probably, regardless of what, if we choose one, will be in both papers. So it's not a flat, we're done with you, we're going with the enterprise kind of a thing. And nothing's been decided yet. That's
Well,
my
to hear
comment.
what you're saying, we thought these two guys are the nuts and bolts guys running the two newspapers, wanted them to have something to say, then I'll have something to say, I hope. But we understand exactly where you're coming from, and we want to participate in a discussion. But I think we have some information that would be helpful to you in terms of clarification.
So go ahead and share that information if you would.
The state statute on this, and this says, legal advertising required by law to be published shall be purchased at a rate not to exceed the amount charged by a daily newspaper. Well, we're not a daily newspaper, so that one doesn't apply. But it says or buy a weekly newspaper at the open local display advertising rate. We are not charging you half price because it's running at both papers, but the state statute says it's supposed to be at the local open rate. Weekly newspapers shall grant customary discounts or contractual rates to any local government fulfilling the requirements necessary to qualify for the discount rate.
So, Commissioner Tilden.
Yeah, well, first of all, perhaps what I'm gonna say is I'm very much in favor of advertising in both papers, as I stated earlier, because I think it's very important. Basically, to keep the public informed as far as transparency and everything. And the agreement that you referenced that was reached back in the 70s, is there anything in writing, or is there just a gentleman's agreement between the county and the two papers?
I have not seen anything in writing.
It is, I call it a consent agreement, Joe.
Okay, sure.
And there isn't anything in writing. I have been publisher of the Powell Tribune for 57 years. I became publisher in 1964, and this agreement was in place. We honor it. We were happy to offer the publication of all of minutes, payment of bills, delinquent tax list, all of that at half price. And that was a consent agreement between the two newspapers and the county. So that you are the ones that are getting the cost, you are getting the service of both newspapers at the cost of one.
Okay. Well,
We've honored that forever. In terms of writing, no, there isn't, I have never seen one, but I sure was happy to honor it when I came over
okay,
here.
well, a follow-up question now. With the absence of an agreement in place as far as half price, and I did not realize we were paying half price. So I thank you for that, and I'm glad you brought that to our attention of moving forward in the event that the board decided to only go with one paper. I presume that one paper would double their rates on us.
That one paper would charge you the full amount of the rate by statute, by
Okay,
law.
thank you.
And then we would turn around and buy advertising in the other paper, because we want, it's more important for us to reach the county and all the constituents and have a countywide message.
Right.
We're here to tell you today that we want it in both papers, and we want to continue to offer you the deal at 50% off. I know what we've all listened to your vocals, your recording from last week, so we listened to the whole discussion. And, you know, as Colleen pointed out, you know, the minutes from 5/12 or from 12/5 or 12/15, that was 80 inches worth of legal notices. We billed you for 40. So they did the same thing, you know, it's half of the legals. If we were to go with one paper, that becomes 80 inches and it becomes our full rate. Right now, it's 40 inches at an earned rate. So, you know, we're going out of our way to really give you guys a great deal, because we want that in the best interest of everybody in the county.
Commissioner Mango. Mr. Chairman, first of all, congratulations to you guys for winning your award. Mr. Mulberg, trial award. We appreciate having, you guys having great reporters too, with CJ and Leo, who's not here right now.
They take turns.
Yeah, as far as, we do get the information out. I mean, these guys do a great job getting a lot of our discussions out. I know the legal part of it, and it's all up for discussion still in the legislature that's going on right now, whether we legally have to keep doing that. The half price rate, we certainly appreciate it. Now, if you guys are raising that rate, do you contact him and say, we're going up, we're raising our price for this? I know you guys will raise the prices every once in a while. It's not the same as it's been since 1978. So do you communicate with each other and then communicate to us that the price is going up?
No, we each, I would imagine, I don't know, I can't speak for the Cody Enterprise, but on January 1 each year, we have a slight rate increase, a cost of living rate increase. And so that, but it doesn't change I think you were 1013 per column inch last year, and this year you're 1031. So you know, it goes up a quarter or so. And so that's what we do annually. And you still get the half price. It's just half price of a new rate.
So the half price from the Powell Tribune might be different than the half price of the Cody Enterprise?
Yeah.
Scott, if I may, the general brushstrokes of Wyoming law say this, that legal newspaper, or a legal rate charged by a newspaper cannot be any more than the rate we charge for any other advertiser for the same amount of advertising. And here's a little interesting fact. It is the only instance in state law where the legislature sets newspaper advertising rates, but it is there. Under the consent agreement, and that's what I call it, you are getting the purchase of 2 newspapers for the price of 1, and at the discounted rate called for in state statute. That we run our legal rate at the lowest rate that we would offer to any other advertiser for the same amount of rate, so that same amount of inches.
Clerk Runner.
Well then, with all that said, I would just like to apologize for bringing this all up.
It's all your fault.
It is, you know, but again, I'm looking out for the county's money. It is a big chunk of change. We truly appreciate everything you do for us. And I'm glad we had this conversation because I had no idea that that's how this process
And
works.
I don't believe there's any apology necessary. It's watching out what we're spending, and we're entering into some we're gonna be entering into some pretty hard decisions. We're looking for nickels.
And sure, the statute says you shall pick a newspaper. For 50+ years, you chose 2 newspapers. So you don't have to physically designate one newspaper. You can continue, as you have for more than 50 years, designate both papers, and we will agree to keep that rate at 50%.
Commissioner Overfield.
Well, I think that's the only thing I was gonna say, and you guys are aware that I used everybody, including the level paper for 20 years with the district. But I think it's important that the public knows, number one, that we had this conversation. And number two, how you guys are treating us. You know, I think that's great, and I appreciate that.
Well, hopefully your reporter will pick it up.
We actually,
Commissioner Mangold.
And following that, also, you know, we've talked a little bit about counties with more than one newspaper. There's not that many around anymore. I know Bighorn County, do they do the same thing, advertise in
I'm not sure what David does.
Grable and Lovell?
3 papers.
And the Basin, is Basin still, okay, so they got 3 they have to make a decision on, but a lot of counties don't do that, and, you know, some newspapers rolling out and not doing it anymore. But as far as your lobbying group in front of the Senate file that's up right now, you get some convincing to do.
Sure, and you know, as far back as I can remember, and Dan and JT can sure pull up other instances. Back in 1990 was the first one I remember since when I was at the newspaper, and there's been 5 or 6 times since where we lobby, you know, to continue to keep public notices in papers.
Is that still Jim Angel doing that?
Yep, Jim is no longer on the press association, but he is one of our lobbyists.
Right,
and works with us. So.
Well, and being somebody in media as well, you know, the transparency portion of it is very important. And even reading the expenditures, that's something I still will look and even see what the city of Cody is spending money on, you know, so, you know, I think it's certainly valuable that we get the information out, and maybe this new added information would help us out a little bit, because we're still getting people saying, you know, as we tried to get the 1% tax across, people are saying, you got to tighten the belt, you got to tighten that belt, tighten the belt. We keep hearing that same mantra. Now, this was a way for us to maybe try to tighten it, but if we're getting a discount on it, I think we can probably continue.
Commissioner Overfield.
The only other thing that we're seeing, of course, is a lot of online and people's ability, which part of this legislation talks about counties being able to put it on a website, and that's fine for people to get to. But one of the things that we've thrown around, or that's come through my mind too, is a lot of people that don't have the connectivity. And I guess I have a question for you about what are you seeing in the market as far as web-based or paper? You understand my question?
If I could speak first to what you said about how we're treating you right, we think more that we're treating the citizens of Park County right by doing this, so we can get that out. Between the 2 papers here, we have roughly 8,000 subscribers in the county. I don't know how many households there are in the county, but you have to figure at least 2 people read every paper, at least available to them. 30,000 people in the county, there's, I don't know how many households are in the county, but we're reaching the majority of them. Your legal publications also go on our website, on the Paul Tribune website, and on wyopublicnotices.com, which is the State Press Association's website that is a searchable database. So if any electrical contractor wants to see what electrical bids are out there, they can search it by database. So you're already getting that too.
And that's free of charge. That's included with being part of our papers. And literally, I can go on to paltribune.com. I can, on the home page, takes seconds. I can type in public notices, and in seconds, I can pull up the last minutes for this meeting. So, and they're just, it's that easy. It's there, it's free. We're already offering it. Another thing that you may or may not know, right now, Pew Research has just done studies. 13% of adults right now can say they go to a government website in a week's time and look at a government's website. 70% of Wyoming adults go to a newspaper website or read a print newspaper daily. So you're not going to be reaching people if you try to send them to your government website. People go to the newspaper, they pay to get the newspaper. They're not getting paid to go to your websites. And the community enjoys it. Legal notices might sound boring, but we get a lot of feedback from people who read the legal notices. And if we haven't had them in the paper for a while, sometimes I call you and say, hey, where are those minutes? And because I get called, people want to see the minutes. They pay attention.
A personal aside, our legals are carried in a paid circulation newspaper, part of the package that we offer to every subscriber. I cannot personally conceive of going home at night, turning on the light in my reading table and say, I guess I'll call up the website, the county's website, and see what I might find. I think it's the fact that we offer it as a part of a package that people look forward to, wait at their mailboxes or whatever, they buy it over the newsstand, but they treat it as a part, as a package that they are looking forward to.
David, you mentioned that for them to get onto your website, if somebody's going to look at our legal notices that we send out, do they have to subscribe to the newspaper?
It's not.
There's ways of getting around it.
It's
right?
in front of our paywall.
Okay.
What they're alluding to is the fact that the Wyoming Press Association gathers legals from every newspaper in the state and puts it onto a combined website that they take care of, that they administer, that they update at no cost.
All of our local legals are right on paltribune.com, but at the same time that we upload our local legals, county legals, it is also uploaded to the Wyoming Public Notices site. So you literally can search any community in the state of Wyoming and get legal notices on there. And it's all because all 43 WPA newspapers participate, and it's all for free. And yes, for sure, all of the county and city minutes are are in front of our paywall, so you can search them at any time. Anybody, don't have to be a subscriber.
Great. Commissioner Teal.
I just want to follow up from the discussion. I think this is great. And thank you for honoring or continuing the gentleman's agreement from 50 years ago. I do think it's definitely the best bang for the buck for the people of Park County. But I do want to say that, I do not believe the savings would be worth the lack of exposure and transparency that we're getting through both newspapers. But I mean, I just want to add that if you did go with one, most likely they're going to be competitive bidding, and it would not be a full price. It would be less than that. So we could, but I don't want to go there. I'm just saying, I appreciate what you're doing, and I would rather go full price and get both exposures as to get 80% off from you from competitive bidding and only get half of the coverage. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think the commissioners could possibly,
No, I would just say that we wouldn't bid against each other. We would charge the full amount by state statute. It's already set. Right now, we're both charging less than that, and we're charging half price. So the price may go up if you were to pick one paper. Because we would go to the state statute and charge the highest amount.
but you just said, you can't charge me more than your going rate.
No, that would be the highest, that is
And
the
then
going
your
rate.
going rate is
Yeah.
less than his.
My going rate is a bit less than his.
So we would pay less. I'm just saying it's a minor amount. It's not worth the trouble. There is savings here. It's not worth it. That's where I'm going.
I got you.
And if he doesn't, if he may lower his rate or lower his price because he wants it. That's how it works. And that's the true savings in it. But given what you guys are doing, it's not worth going there, in my opinion.
JT?
If I was in your position, I've always said, if I was in your position, I would want the legals published in the newspaper for your own protection. And if somebody said, why are you paying your janitors more than they are in Casper? You could say, no, we're not looking here.
Well, you can't be in our position here in 2 years. There's an election coming up.
Don't rush it.
Mr. Bonner.
Mr. Chairman, last comment, we think that the people who arranged this consent agreement, and it was before my time, before 57 years ago, did a good thing for the people of Park County, and we have committed to continuing to live by it. We accept half rate and consider that an investment in transparency as far as we can reach across this county by going into both newspapers.
Well,
It's an investment on our part.
we certainly appreciate you guys coming down here and enlightening us because, we didn't have a clue really how it was going. It's all Colleen's fault, but I'm glad that she brought it up and because it gives us.
We learned a lot.
It gives us the information we need going forward. And folks are saying how you spending our money and we can show them. Commissioner Tilden.
Yeah, one last comment, moving forward, the motion that we passed 2 weeks ago basically said it will continue to advertise in both papers until such time the commission wants to revisit it. So my recommendation, let that motion stand.
Yeah, we don't have to revisit, we just continue and go.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I just wanted to make sure, check the minutes, that we didn't put a 30-day cap on that.
Yeah, just.
Oh, I can't remember.
Well, you can find it in the newspaper.
If you submitted it already.
I don't think I submitted it
We
yet.
haven't
because
seen
they
that one
approved
yet.
it. No, they approved it today. Sorry, guys.
Okay, well, we sure appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the
Go forth and be healthy.
Dave, how you been? God, I haven't seen you in ages.
You heard that father and son shared COVID together.
He gave it to me.
He gave it to me. We're coming back from it, not very strong yet, but.
Oh, it's, I had it, it's tough.
So it
I'd
says
also
we'll
be
leave it
happy
blank for
to
30 days.
put
to
a
revisit.
gentleman's agreement and sign something with
So we need
JT if you
So
guys
you'll
would like
need to
that
vote that we're
moving
gonna,
forward, so you have something for your record.
I don't.
Worked for 50 years.
I'll make sure, I'll make sure that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
They were in 64 when I came.
How's it going?
When the county clerk changes the next time around, we'll.
Hang in here.
Oh, it'll be in the minutes.
That's right. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks all. See ya.
Hey, Dave, I think you spread the COVID on your golf pencil erasers that you guys use, so maybe stay away from them.
We'll check that.
Susan?
The two of you share.
Please make note that we do, according to the minutes, we do have to vote again on that, on the official, the county newspaper.
Okay, we had 30 days on
We
it.
did.
Yeah,
We did
it
for 30
said
days.
we
Had to
gave
be
it 30
revisited
days.
in 30 days.
No, I thought the motion was until such time the county decided to revisit.
What the minutes, she said.
What you guys approved in the minutes this morning say,
I thought there was 30-day deal.
further discussions regarding the use of social media, newspapers being blah, 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 blah. Further led to new motion by Commissioner Tilden designating both the Powell Tribune and the Cody Enterprise for 30 days and revisit the issue after hearing.
For 30 days.
his constituents.
I should have read the minutes more carefully, because that's not what I meant. But anyway.
So we will
But can't you make a
We
motion
can
right
make a motion
now?
right now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Okay.
do, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we continue to advertise in both the Powell Tribune and the Cody Enterprise.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and basically it's that they are the official papers of the county, both. Okay, all in favor? We have discussion. Sorry.
Just a quick question, I'm in favor, is this renewed every year?
We have to.
Yes.
That's
we have to vote on
statute.
every year. We're supposed to vote on the first. beginning of
First Monday in
January.
January.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so it'll be revisited next January.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're good.
Lunchtime? Lunchtime?
Lunchtime, and then we reconvene, we meet back here at 12:15 or 1:15.
So just really quick, and I got 2 emails me. For some reason, I thought we were going into 2022. Nothing like rushing it. Sign those things.
We need those
before-
presented
yeah.
to us. We need them. Someone needs to give them to us to sign. I haven't seen them signed. Are they in the, are you talking about our financial disclosures?
Uh-huh.
Or,
Oh, I emailed them. Nobody printed them for you?
Are those
I will
individual?
print 'em.
And we could sign them after lunch.
yeah, we'll sign them after lunch.
Okay,
Yeah, we do it every year.
I
Yeah.
remember. And every year I have a question as the last column I don't understand, but the first one that's,
Okay, the first one is if you own
the
something in the
bank,
bank.
or you own a share of the
Pecuniary
bank.
is, so you probably all have pecuniary because if you have a savings account and you earn
Checking account,
interest
David,
or checking account and earn interest, you tell us which bank's in the second section.
That's the second section.
Yep,
And then
and
the
then
bottom
third
is just
section
flat out
is-
if you have an account there.
Yes, yeah.
What's the third section?
So it's
Whether
no,
you have
yes,
an account
yes.
at any of the banks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, second section says, are you earning interest?
And the first one
First
is
means,
like,
do you
are
own
you
it?
part owner of any of those banks?
Yeah.
Well, I've given them up damn money, I probably am.
You should be part owner.
Okay, so I'll print 5 of them for you guys this afternoon.
All right, super.
And I don't remember acting on those in the past, but I guess by statute, we have to act